Imagine a father so consumed by wealth and status that he would cast out his own daughter simply because she dared to marry a man he considered poor. Picture the heartbreak, the betrayal, and the cold rejection a parent can inflict when blinded by pride and money. Now, hold on to that thought because years later, that very same daughter did something that no one saw coming, something so powerful and poetic that it completely flipped the script. She didn't just survive her father's harsh disownment, she rose above it, broke every barrier, and ultimately ended up owning the very company he built from the ground up. You're about to hear a story filled with family drama, raw emotion, and a jaw-dropping twist that will challenge everything you thought about loyalty, ambition, and what it truly means to succeed. If you've ever felt torn between family expectations and following your own heart, or if you've ever watched someone close to you make a choice that shattered the family bond, then this story will hit you deep. Because this isn't just about money or power, it's about the complex ties that bind us, the sacrifices we make for love, and the ultimate revenge life can serve when you least expect it. I want you to think about your own relationships as you listen. Maybe you've seen someone you love pushed aside for reasons that seem unfair or cruel. Maybe you've faced rejection that made you question your worth. This story will take you there. It will make you question who really holds the power in family ties and who truly wins in the end. Right now, you might be wondering, how could a father be so unforgiving? What kind of man disowns his daughter over something as simple and yet as profound as marrying the wrong person? And how did that daughter go from being cast out to owning the entire empire? That's exactly what you're going to find out by sticking with me through this video. Trust me, every moment of this story builds toward a revelation so shocking and inspiring, you won't want to miss a single detail. I'm going to take you step by step through the heartbreak, the struggle, the unexpected rise, and the final showdown that will leave you questioning what family really means. Let me introduce you to the key players in this dramatic saga. First, there's the father, successful, wealthy, and notoriously proud. A man who believed that wealth defined respect and that only marrying into the right class could preserve the family name. Then there's the daughter, a woman with dreams bigger than her father's rigid expectations, who chose love over luxury. And finally, the man she married, the so-called poor man, who played an essential role in shaping the future none of them could predict. These characters don't just represent a family torn apart. They embody the timeless battle between tradition and change, between control and freedom, between rejection and redemption. As we unravel this story, you'll witness the raw human emotions behind each decision, the silent pain behind every confrontation, and the unexpected power of resilience. This isn't a fairy tale or a scripted drama. It's a real-life story that echoes the struggles many of us face. You'll feel the tension in every word, the weight of every choice, and the thrill of a twist that will redefine what justice and success really look like. So, why did the father disown his daughter? What drove him to cut her off completely? And how did she turn that rejection into the ultimate victory? Stay with me, because the answers will unfold in a way you never expected. This isn't just a story about money or family. It's about standing up for what you believe in, fighting for your dreams, and proving that sometimes the underdog comes out on top in the most spectacular way imaginable. Right now, the father is still in control, or so it seems. But behind the scenes, the daughter is quietly rewriting her fate, building something that will shock everyone who ever doubted her. What happens next will make you question who really holds the power and who deserves the last word. You'll want to hear every detail, every twist, and every moment of this emotional roller coaster. So don't click away, because the next part is where the story truly explodes and the real battle for family, respect, and success begins. Get ready to dive deep into a story that's as emotional as it is inspiring. This is about more than just a family feud. It's about the courage to break free, the strength to rise above, and the unexpected ways life can turn pain into power. Stay tuned, because you're about to witness a dramatic reversal no one saw coming. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be left wondering, who really won? The father who disowned his daughter, or the daughter who took everything back? Years after that painful rift tore the family apart, the daughter's life had become a complex tapestry of resilience, ambition, and quiet determination, yet nothing about it was straightforward. She didn't just disappear into the background after being disowned. Instead, she quietly built a new life from the ground up, fueled by a mix of grit and a burning desire to prove herself to the father who had rejected her. The man she married, once dismissed as poor and insignificant, turned out to be a crucial partner in this journey, but even their relationship was layered with complexities that made the story far from simple. People around them whispered, speculating about motives, alliances, and what was really driving her rise. Some claimed she was out for revenge, others thought she was simply making the most of a second chance, and a few even questioned whether she had betrayed the man who had once stood by her side. The truth? It was far more tangled than any rumor or assumption could capture. In the months leading up to the moment she took control of her father's company, there were subtle shifts in her behavior that many close to her noticed, but couldn't fully explain. She became more guarded, less willing to share details about her work or plans, which only fueled more speculation. Her closest friends talked about how she was spending endless hours meeting with mysterious investors and strategists, but no one outside her inner circle knew what those meetings really meant. Meanwhile, the company itself, a massive enterprise that had thrived under the father's iron grip, was facing pressures from competitors and market changes that threatened its dominance. The timing seemed suspicious to some. Why would the daughter, who had been cast out, suddenly emerge as the key player in a high-stakes corporate game? Rumors swirled around a handful of figures who might have influenced her path. There was the ambitious CFO, whose loyalty had always seemed questionable, often caught between the old guard loyal to the father and the new wave of leadership eager to shake things up. Some suggested this CFO might have been quietly funneling information or support to the daughter, playing a dangerous game of power behind the scenes. Then there was a rival company's CEO, known for aggressive takeovers and whispered deals in smoky boardrooms, whose involvement in the story added another layer of intrigue. Was this rival orchestrating events to weaken the father's hold on the company? Or was the daughter simply smart enough to capitalize on the cracks in her father's empire? The lines between friend and foe blurred, leaving everyone guessing about who was really pulling the strings. As if the business stakes weren't enough, the family drama simmered beneath the surface with unresolved wounds and secrets. The father, once seen as the unshakable patriarch, was now dealing with challenges he hadn't anticipated. His public image remained polished, but behind closed doors, whispers of strained relationships and unexpected betrayals painted a different picture. Close family friends hinted at heated confrontations, silent cold wars, and moments where pride almost cracked but never quite did. Meanwhile, the daughter's circle was equally complicated. Old friends who had chosen sides, new allies who saw an opportunity, and shadows of doubt about whether she could truly trust anyone. Every interaction, every handshake, seemed to carry an unspoken tension, a reminder that this was a high-stakes game with far more than just money on the line. Through it all, the daughter maintained a veneer of calm, a carefully constructed image that masked the whirlwind of emotions and strategies swirling beneath. But those who paid close attention noticed the subtle cracks, brief moments of vulnerability, flickers of doubt, and a deep-seated determination that made it clear she wasn't just playing to win. She was playing to rewrite history. The mystery of how she navigated these treacherous waters, balancing personal pain with corporate ambition, kept those who knew her on edge. And for outsiders watching from afar, the unfolding drama was impossible to ignore. What was her true motive? Was it simply about reclaiming what she felt was rightfully hers? Or was there something deeper, a need to prove her worth, to silence the voice of rejection that had haunted her for years? And what about her father? Was he ready to face the consequences of his own choices? Or was he still blinded by the past, unable to see the woman his daughter had become? With every step closer to the truth, the story grew more complicated, more layered, and more gripping. This wasn't just a tale of family and business. It was a battle of wills, a test of character, and a question of what it really means to win. As the pieces began to fall into place, one thing was clear. The resolution would come at a cost none of them were fully prepared to pay. The shadows of the past lingered, and the stakes were higher than ever. Who could be trusted? Who was hiding secrets? And in the end, would the daughter's victory bring closure or only open new wounds? The answers are coming, but not yet. Stay with me as we unravel this tangled web of ambition, love, betrayal, and power. Because the truth behind how a disowned daughter ended up owning her father's company is far more thrilling and unexpected than you could ever imagine. Just when it seemed like the daughter was steadily gaining ground, ready to uncover the deeper truths that could finally explain everything, the path ahead suddenly grew dark and tangled with unexpected obstacles. The first blow came when a crucial piece of evidence, something that could have shattered decades of silence and hidden agendas, vanished without a trace. It was a financial report, one that could have exposed secret deals and long-buried betrayals within the company's highest ranks. The document was supposed to be in her hands, a key to unraveling the mystery behind her father's sudden loosened grip on his empire. But somehow, it disappeared from a locked office, leaving behind only questions and a growing sense of paranoia. Friends and advisors urged caution, but the daughter's instincts told her that someone powerful didn't want the truth to come out, and that warning only deepened the shadows surrounding her. As if the missing evidence wasn't enough, the daughter soon received a chilling warning from an unexpected source. A figure from her past, someone she once trusted deeply, reached out with a message that was equal parts cryptic and threatening. "Stop digging." The message said simply, no explanation, no pleasantries. It was a stark reminder that beneath the polished surface of business deals and family reunions, dangerous forces were at play, forces that could jeopardize everything she had fought for. The warning shook her, but it also fueled her determination. If anything, it made her more certain that the answers were within reach, even if uncovering them meant risking everything she had left. Amid this growing tension, new layers of the past began to surface, revealing betrayals that no one had anticipated. Hidden within the company's history was a secret from years ago, a clandestine deal that had almost destroyed the family from within, a betrayal that had been carefully concealed behind smiles and handshakes. This wasn't just about money or social standing anymore. It was about a fracture deep enough to have shaped the entire family's trajectory, influencing who stood where and who fell silent. The daughter found herself questioning everyone, even those closest to her. Was the man she married really the partner she thought he was, or was there more to his story? Were some of her allies secretly working against her? Every conversation became a test of trust, every relationship a potential puzzle piece or a hidden trap. One person, in particular, stood out, a trusted advisor who had been by the daughter's side since the early days of her comeback. His calm demeanor and steady presence seemed reassuring, but subtle hints suggested he might have a hidden agenda. Small inconsistencies in his stories, unexplained absences at critical moments, and rumors whispered in the background made it impossible to ignore the possibility that he was playing a double game. Was he protecting her, or was he protecting someone else? The daughter had to decide whether to confront him or keep him close, knowing that either choice carried risks. This tension added another layer of complexity to an already precarious situation, making it clear that the biggest threats might not be from outside, but from within. As the stakes rose, so did the psychological toll. The daughter grappled not only with external pressures, but with her own doubts and fears. Was she ready for the truth, no matter how painful? Was the cost of uncovering the past worth the potential destruction it could bring? And most haunting of all, what if the truth revealed something she could never forgive? These questions lingered like a dark cloud, heightening the suspense and pulling viewers deeper into the story's emotional core. Just when it seemed the story might start to reveal its secrets, another twist upended everything. Late one night, a secret meeting was arranged, a chance for the daughter to confront her most suspicious ally and get answers face to face. But when she arrived, the room was empty, and all that remained was a single envelope containing a photo. The photo showed a moment from the past, a betrayal she hadn't known existed, involving people she never suspected. The implications were staggering, but before she could process it, her phone buzzed with a final, chilling message. Some truths are better left buried. The screen went dark, leaving her and us caught in the grip of an unresolved mystery that promised even darker revelations to come. This moment of uncertainty leaves us at a crossroads, where every question leads to more questions, and every step forward risks unraveling the fragile threads holding the story together. Who can be trusted? What secrets will finally come to light? And how far is the daughter willing to go to reclaim what was taken from her? The answers are closer than ever, but so are the dangers lurking in the shadows. Stay with me, because the next chapter will dive even deeper into this tangled web of family, betrayal, and power, and the truth might just blow everything wide open. Just as the daughter grappled with the chilling message and the haunting photograph left behind at that empty meeting, an entirely new thread began to unravel, complicating the already tangled narrative in ways no one could have foreseen. Across town, another person deeply connected to the family found themselves pulled into this shadowy web. Her estranged brother, a man who had remained largely in the background, watching events unfold with a mix of resentment and guarded curiosity. He, too, received a message nearly identical in tone and warning, but this one came with a starkly different clue, a cryptic symbol etched onto a plain card, one that no one had seen before, yet carried a weight of meaning that suggested ties to a secret neither sibling fully understood. This secondary storyline did more than just widen the mystery. It challenged everything the daughter thought she knew about her family and the forces working behind the scenes, adding layers of suspense and uncertainty that sent shockwaves through every relationship involved. Meanwhile, a new piece of evidence surfaced that contradicted much of what had been assumed about the company's past and the family's fractured history. Financial records from years earlier, discovered buried deep in an unexpected archive, revealed transactions that didn't just hint at wrongdoing, but exposed a possible conspiracy within the highest levels of the corporation, one that implicated not only the father and his trusted advisors, but also some surprising figures within the daughter's own circle. Suddenly, the story was no longer about a simple disownment or a corporate power struggle. It was a complex battle for control, fueled by hidden alliances and betrayals that went back decades. As these revelations unfolded, the stakes grew exponentially higher, and viewers were forced to question every motive, every relationship, and every whispered secret. Could the brothers' mysterious symbol be a key to unlocking these buried truths? Or was it yet another trap designed to mislead and confuse? In the midst of this swirling uncertainty, the atmosphere became electric with tension. The daughter's once clear path forward now twisted unpredictably as she found herself caught between loyalty and suspicion, love and betrayal. Each new revelation made it harder to discern friend from foe, especially as those closest to her began acting in ways that were puzzling, some withdrawing support, others pushing harder, each with agendas that seemed murkier than before. The brothers' own story added emotional weight, revealing long-simmering grievances and secrets that hinted at why the family had splintered in the first place, while also exposing cracks in his own character that made it impossible to know if he could be trusted or was part of a deeper conspiracy. This secondary storyline wasn't just an echo of the main conflict. It was a pulse that threatened to shatter everything the daughter had worked to rebuild. As the plot thickened, so did the psychological complexity. The daughter wrestled with the crushing realization that the people she thought she knew best might have been playing her all along, while the brothers' sudden emergence into the spotlight forced both siblings to confront painful memories and choices they had long tried to bury. The company's fate now seemed intertwined with their personal reckoning, each revelation ratcheting up the pressure and making it painfully clear that this story was as much about family as it was about power. No one was safe from suspicion. No truth was straightforward, and the questions kept piling up. What really happened years ago that led to the rupture? Who orchestrated the silencing of the crucial evidence? And how far would someone go to keep these secrets hidden? In this high-stakes game where every clue could be a lie and every ally a potential adversary, the tension reached a fever pitch. just as the daughter and her brother began to piece together fragments of a conspiracy that threatened not only their family legacy, but their very survival, the story took a sudden, unpredictable turn. A mysterious phone call interrupted a critical meeting, and the voice on the other end offered a chilling ultimatum: stop digging, or face consequences that would echo far beyond the boardroom. The walls seemed to close in, leaving both siblings trapped in a labyrinth of secrets with no clear way out. The unresolved twists left viewers on the edge, desperate to know who was behind these threats, what their real game was, and whether the truth would ever be free to surface. The mystery deepened, the stakes soared, and the only certainty was that this was just the beginning of a story far more intricate and dangerous than anyone had dared imagine. The atmosphere shifted suddenly, like the calm before a storm turning into a violent tempest, and the daughter's world began to unravel in ways she had only feared but never imagined would become real. What started as uneasy glances over her shoulder grew into an undeniable certainty: she was being followed. At first, the signs were subtle, almost easy to dismiss: a shadow lingering too long outside her home, the faint but unmistakable hum of a car engine that seemed to appear whenever she left, the way her phone occasionally picked up faint static during important calls. But then came the moment that shattered any illusion of safety: a close friend and confidant, someone who had stood by her through every twist and turn, simply vanished. One day, they were there offering support and guidance, and the next, they were gone without a trace. No calls, no messages, no explanation. Only a chilling silence that filled the spaces they left behind and intensified the daughter's growing paranoia. It was a brutal reminder that this wasn't just a game or a corporate power struggle. It was a dangerous battle with real, life-threatening stakes. Her mind became a whirlwind of fear, doubt, and racing thoughts. Every moment was charged with tension as she faced those around her, trying to gauge who was truly on her side and who might be hiding darker motives beneath their carefully crafted masks. The people she had leaned on began to look like strangers, and the walls she had built to protect herself started crumbling under the pressure of mounting suspicion and fear. The daughter's mind raced with questions, doubts gnawing at her resolve. Could she risk pushing forward knowing the dangers that loomed, or would silence become the only shield left to preserve what little peace remained? Her heart ached with the weight of betrayal and the desperate hope that somewhere beneath the chaos, there might still be a path to redemption. As the tension escalated, the lines between ally and enemy blurred even further, and the daughter realized that this wasn't just a fight for answers anymore. It was a battle for survival, trust, and the fragile bonds that held her world together. The story grew darker, more complex, and infinitely more unpredictable as she wrestled with the haunting realization that some truths might come at too high a price, and some sacrifices might be unavoidable. Yet despite the crushing uncertainty and the impossible choices she faced, a flicker of determination refused to be extinguished. The path ahead was treacherous, and the outcome far from certain, but she knew one thing for sure: whatever it took, she couldn't turn back now. The answers she sought were within reach, but the cost of uncovering them might change everything, forever. The emotional turmoil made every decision feel like walking a tightrope over a precipice, where one wrong step could plunge her into a darkness far deeper than she had ever imagined. Every creak in the house, every unexpected knock on the door, every unfamiliar face in the crowd sent her heart pounding. She wrestled with the terrifying possibility that someone within her own circle was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The weight of isolation pressed down on her, and she wondered if the people she trusted most were truly on her side, or if they were pawns in a sinister game she was only beginning to understand. Sleepless nights blurred into anxious days as she replayed every conversation, every gesture, searching for hidden meanings and betrayals that might explain the sudden and ruthless shift in her world. Her desperation was palpable, not just for answers, but for the fragile sense of security that had already slipped through her fingers. Then came the direct threat, an unmarked package left on her doorstep, containing nothing but a single sheet of paper with a simple, menacing message: "Stop now, or you disappear next." The words were stark, brutal, and left no room for misunderstanding. The daughter's hands trembled as she held the note, the cold realization sinking in that her enemies were no longer content to hide in shadows. They were coming for her, and time was running out. The emotional toll was overwhelming. She felt the crushing pressure of being hunted, but also the fierce, burning resolve that only grew stronger in the face of such danger. She wasn't just fighting for a company or a legacy. She was fighting for her very life, and for the truth that no one seemed willing to let her uncover. Her thoughts spiraled deeper into a fog of paranoia and fear. Who had sent the note? Was it someone close, or a faceless enemy lurking in the dark? Could her brother be involved somehow, or was he just as trapped in this deadly game as she was? The mystery had grown darker, more twisted, and more unpredictable, leaving her trapped in a maze with no clear exit. Every ally felt like a potential threat, every step forward a risk, and every unanswered question a weight dragging her further into uncertainty. The daughter's story was no longer just about reclaiming what was hers. It was about survival against forces determined to erase her from existence. As the screen fades on this chapter, the tension is unbearable, the stakes terrifyingly real, and the only certainty is that the truth is still buried somewhere beneath the layers of lies, waiting to be uncovered. But at what cost? The mystery remains unresolved, the danger escalating, and the audience is left questioning who will emerge from the shadows unscathed, if anyone at all. Just when it seemed like the daughter's world was closing in from all sides, an unexpected revelation shattered everything she thought she knew, turning the entire story on its head and forcing everyone watching to question the very foundation of the mystery. The trusted confidant who had vanished so abruptly, the one whose disappearance had sent her spiraling into fear and paranoia, was not just a friend caught in the crossfire, but someone who had been playing a far more complex game than anyone suspected. Through a late-night, encrypted message delivered by an unknown source, a bombshell truth surfaced. This confidant had been secretly working for the father all along, acting as a double agent within the daughter's inner circle, feeding information back to those who wanted to keep her silent. The betrayal cut deeper than any previous wounds because it wasn't just about corporate secrets or family disputes. It was about trust, deception, and a carefully orchestrated plan to dismantle the daughter's life piece by piece from within. Suddenly, the simple narrative of a father disowning his daughter for marrying poor was exposed as a much darker, more insidious power struggle fueled by manipulation, lies, and a desperate hunger for control. As the daughter grappled with this devastating betrayal, she unearthed a hidden clue that had been overlooked from the very beginning, an obscure legal document buried deep within the company archives, one that indicated the ownership of the corporation was far from settled. In fact, it revealed a complex web of contracts, shell companies, and secret trusts, some of which were linked not only to her father, but to unexpected players who had stayed in the shadows. One name stood out, someone who had been present but silent throughout the entire saga, a long-estranged uncle nobody had mentioned, a man with a shadowy past and a rumored agenda to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. This twist flipped the entire narrative from a straightforward battle of wills between father and daughter into a multi-layered conflict riddled with hidden alliances and shifting loyalties, forcing everyone to reconsider who was really pulling the strings and why. The daughter's growing suspicion wasn't limited to external enemies. Those she once considered allies now seemed tainted by hidden motives, and the brother's own cryptic symbols and mysterious communications took on a new, unsettling significance. Was he trying to warn her or mislead her? Was his sudden involvement a desperate bid for power or a genuine effort to expose the truth? The lines between friend and foe blurred beyond recognition. The deeper she dug, the more she realized that the danger wasn't just from those openly opposed to her, but from the unseen puppeteers who had manipulated her family for years, keeping the truth locked away behind layers of secrecy and deception. Every revelation raised new questions. Who truly owned the company? What had happened to the missing confidant? And was their disappearance part of a larger scheme? As the daughter grappled with this crushing dilemma, the people around her became shadows of uncertainty. Friends she thought she could trust pulled away or revealed hidden agendas, Business associates grew cold or disappeared without explanation, and whispers of conspiracies deepened the chasm of doubt. Every step forward felt like walking on thin ice, the ground shifting beneath her feet as she struggled to discern friend from foe. The tension in the story reached a breaking point where every decision could tip the scales between survival and destruction, victory and loss, clarity and chaos. Her inner world was a maelstrom of hope, fear, anger, and exhaustion, and the audience could feel every pulse of her desperation and determination as if it were their own. The narrative was no longer just about uncovering secrets. It had become an intense, emotional journey through betrayal, loyalty, and the painful cost of fighting for what's right in a world that seemed designed to silence her. And yet, despite the overwhelming odds and the crushing emotional toll, she refused to back down, not because she was reckless, but because the truth was more than just a prize. It was her legacy, her redemption, and the final line between surrender and survival. The story remained unresolved, the conflict escalating with no clear path forward, leaving viewers hooked on every word, every twist, every heart-wrenching choice. It was a story that transcended mere mystery, becoming a gripping exploration of human strength, frailty, and the relentless pursuit of justice, no matter the cost. And just as the tension seemed unbearable, the question lingered in the air. How far was she willing to go before the fight consumes her completely? Just when the daughter thought she had a grasp on the tangled web around her, the true scope of the conspiracy exploded in a way that left her reeling, and the stakes higher than ever before. It wasn't just her father's company at risk, nor a mere family feud. This was a vast, intricate network of deception that stretched far beyond anything she had imagined, involving powerful figures with their own hidden agendas. The pieces that once seemed disconnected suddenly snapped into place, revealing a chilling reality. The betrayal ran deeper and wider, implicating board members she had trusted, longtime family friends who had seemed loyal, and even business partners who had smiled warmly in her presence, but pulled strings from the shadows. The revelation hit like a thunderclap, stripping away any illusion of safety and forcing her to confront enemies she couldn't see clearly, but whose reach was undeniable and merciless. It became a race against time, with every move watched, every word monitored, and every ally suspect. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with cryptic warnings and veiled threats, messages from unknown numbers warning her to stop digging or face consequences that went beyond legal battles, threats that struck at her very existence. Amid the chaos, the ultimate betrayal came from the one person she had counted on the most, someone she believed was on her side, fighting for the same truth. Their sudden shift, disguised as a protective gesture but laced with manipulation, exposed the real danger she was in, a trap designed to isolate her, weaken her, and ensure silence. That betrayal wasn't just personal, it was tactical, a move by the conspirators to fracture her resolve and dismantle her support system. The pressure was relentless, each moment filled with a pulse-pounding urgency that left her questioning every decision and fearing every shadow. There was no room for error, no second chances. This was a fight for survival wrapped in a battle for justice. The tension crackled in the air as she pushed forward, knowing that surrender wasn't an option but fully aware that the cost of victory might be her own freedom, or worse. The conspiracy's true scale was staggering, involving not just corporate greed but corruption, cover-ups, and a ruthless determination to keep the past buried no matter who it destroyed. Every revelation peeled back another layer of a story filled with greed, power plays, and shattered loyalties, dragging her deeper into a dangerous game where the rules were constantly shifting and trust was a currency more fragile than glass. With enemies closing in and no clear way out, she was forced to dig deeper, question harder, and fight smarter, aware that one wrong move could mean the end of everything she had ever fought for. The race to expose the truth had reached a fever pitch, and the countdown to an explosive climax had begun, leaving everyone watching on the edge of their seats, desperate to see how this high-stakes battle would finally unfold. The moment had arrived, the culmination of years of betrayal, heartbreak, and relentless pursuit of the truth, When the daughter finally stood face to face with the architect of it all, the man who had disowned her for daring to love outside his world, and whose shadow had loomed over every twist and turn in her life. The room was thick with tension, a silent battlefield where unspoken grudges clashed with the desperate hope for redemption. Her heart pounded not only with fear but with the fire of determination, knowing this confrontation would decide not just the fate of a company or a family, but her own sense of identity and justice. The villain, cool and calculating, greeted her with a chilling calm that only fueled her resolve. Every word exchanged cut deeper, a psychological war where truth and lies collided, and the daughter wielded her hard-won knowledge like a weapon, exposing secrets that shattered the carefully crafted facade of control and power her father had built. As the layers of deception peeled away, the daughter revealed the final piece of evidence that no one had expected: a hidden ledger containing damning proof of illegal dealings, manipulations, and the ruthless efforts to silence anyone who dared oppose the family's empire. The weight of this revelation sent shockwaves through the room, leaving the villain momentarily vulnerable, a crack in the armor that years of cruelty had never managed to create. But just when victory seemed within reach, an unforeseen betrayal struck like lightning from the darkest corner of the room. The trusted confidant who had once appeared loyal stepped forward, not as an ally, but as an enforcer for the very conspiracy the daughter had fought to dismantle. The unexpected twist, this confidant's true allegiance, flipped the battle on its head, plunging the climax into chaos and forcing the daughter to think faster than ever before. Her instinct and grit were tested as she navigated this last trap, balancing the line between survival and triumph. In a gripping showdown where words and wills clashed with raw emotion, the daughter held firm, refusing to let the shadows consume her. The psychological tension escalated as she used every ounce of cunning, every shard of evidence, and the emotional strength she had forged through pain and rejection to outmaneuver her adversaries. The villain's empire began to crumble, not with brute force, but with the unstoppable truth and a daughter's unyielding courage to claim what was hers by right and by justice. The room, once thick with menace, now buzzed with the electricity of exposure, a moment suspended between past sins and the dawn of reckoning. And just as the dust seemed to settle and the daughter's victory appeared inevitable, the final, jaw-dropping revelation emerged, not from the villain or the betrayer. And most chillingly, how far would those involved go to keep the daughter from claiming her rightful place? This major plot twist transformed the entire story, turning it into a thrilling labyrinth of hidden agendas, forgotten histories, and unexpected betrayals. It forced the daughter, and the audience, to question everything, casting shadows over past events that had once seemed clear and shaking the trust placed in every character introduced. The stakes were no longer just about wealth or family pride, but about uncovering a truth so deeply buried that exposing it might come at the highest cost. As the pieces of this complex puzzle fell into place, the daughter stood at the crossroads of an impossible choice: to continue fighting for justice, risking everything, or to step back and lose not only the company, but her own identity in the process. The story was far from over, and as the tension surged, the viewers were left hanging on the edge of their seats, desperate to know what would come next in this intense saga of power, betrayal, and redemption. The weight of the revelations bore down on the daughter like a crushing force, and soon she found herself trapped in a storm of impossible choices that tore at the core of her being, forcing her to confront not only the tangled web of deceit surrounding her, but the people she had once believed were untouchable pillars in her life. The shock of the confidant's betrayal still burned raw, but now a darker challenge emerged, an ultimatum so severe and personal that it threatened to shatter every relationship she held dear and test the limits of her own resilience. In a tense, late-night confrontation, she demanded answers from her brother, the one person she thought might stand with her unconditionally. But instead of clarity, she was met with a chilling confession that neither could have prepared for. He had been caught in his own battle, pressured by forces within the family and outside, and was forced to choose between loyalty to their father's ruthless ambitions or standing beside his sister and facing exile, financial ruin, and perhaps worse. His words, heavy with regret but edged with fear, echoed in her mind like a verdict on her future, forcing her to question whether family was a bond of love or a chain of control. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming. Every interaction felt loaded with suspicion and heartbreak as she weighed the consequences of pushing further for the truth against the possibility of losing those closest to her forever. It wasn't just a fight for a company or an inheritance. It was a battle for identity, for love, and for survival in a world that had suddenly become hostile and uncertain. Then came the ultimate threat, delivered not through veiled messages or silent warnings, but in the cold, unambiguous form of a choice that left no room for compromise. Back down from the fight and walk away, securing her personal safety but surrendering the company and the truth, or press forward into the abyss, risking everything she had ever valued, including her freedom and life. The ultimatum felt like a dagger twisting deep into her heart, tearing between self-preservation and the relentless hunger for justice that had driven her this far. It was a moment where the stakes weren't just high, they were existential. But from a source so close it cut deeper than any enemy's blade, rewriting everything she thought she knew about loyalty, love, and family. The climax ended on this heart-stopping twist, leaving the audience breathless, minds racing, and hearts pounding, desperate to uncover the truth behind this last, shocking secret in the next chapter of this unforgettable story. In the quiet aftermath of the storm, the daughter stood alone in the boardroom she now commanded, the weight of everything she had endured settling into a heavy but strangely freeing presence. The company her father had built and tried to keep from her was finally hers, not just as a trophy of victory, but as a symbol of resilience against the bitter rejection and betrayal that once threatened to break her spirit. The people who had conspired in the shadows were exposed, their influence shattered, yet the scars they left were not so easily erased. She had uncovered truths that cut deep, not only about her family but about the ruthless nature of power and how far people would go to protect it. Still, despite the triumph, an uneasy silence lingered, a reminder that justice, while served, never completely heals the wounds left behind by broken trust and lost time. The final twist, the unexpected betrayal by someone closest to her, reverberated in her mind like an echo she couldn't ignore. It was a painful reminder that loyalty is often more fragile than it appears, and that the line between friend and foe can blur in the most devastating ways. She realized that while she had reclaimed her place in the world, the true battle was far from over. The ghosts of the past would always shadow her victories, and the fight for peace was ongoing, a fragile thread she must hold on to with every ounce of strength. The legacy of rejection and redemption intertwined in a complex dance, leaving her with a bittersweet sense of closure, knowing that the man who disowned her was now a ghost of the past, but the impact of his choices would ripple through her life in ways she was still learning to understand. As the camera of life shifted away from the battle and toward a quieter horizon, the daughter's journey left an indelible mark not only on her own soul but on everyone who watched and related to her story. Themes of family, forgiveness, ambition, and the raw human desire to be seen and accepted in a world that often judges by wealth and status. The story closed not with a neat bow but with a lingering question. In the pursuit of success and justice, how much of ourselves are we willing to sacrifice? And what does true victory really mean when the price is so high? The audience is left with a haunting sense of reflection, compelled to consider their own definitions of family and forgiveness, success and identity, long after the screen fades to black, proving that some stories don't end. They echo on, challenging us to find the strength to rewrite our own.